Hello. Google in May of 2026 had their I/O conference in Silicon Valley, went for multiple hours and covered a multitude of activities. And I'm here with Wayne Buckler with our AI WTF to discuss the impact of some of the things that they mentioned during that conference. So, Wayne, start with some of your impressions.
Monty, the conference was interesting. It was live stream, but I watched it a couple of hours after it had finished, and it was long, but it was extremely well done and very entertaining. And they had a lot of stuff to talk about. It was really worth having a look at. One of the big ones that came out for me was the volume of queries that are going to Google search that are now no-click queries. So what I mean by that is someone's typing in what they used to type in to search for something, and the Google AI is bringing up an answer to them, and I think it's like 60% are saying, yep, that's the answer I want, and then moving on. They're not seeing any of the ones that are sponsored below that or any of the free listings below that again. So this makes a big difference to what we all used to do with Google, which was the search engine optimization. And given that you're the Google guru, you tell us about this new thing called AEO.
Yes, and Google did address that specifically, where they were saying that AEO, which is answer engine optimization, rather than search engine optimization. So it's providing an answer. And yes, that number is over 60%. I've heard it approaching 70%, which they call the zero click. So you're asking a question, you're getting the answer. And in fact, Google even will give you the answer to the query you asked, and then it'll have 2 or 3 other similar queries and have the answers for those as well. So it's become the answer engine. And Google specifically said, don't panic. SEO is not dead. AEO has come, but it still is the same thing. They talk about is your information expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. But now they're asking for it to be evidence-based. And by that, they're looking for citations, testimonials, proof that the answer that's given and its pedigree is of value. And the impact on that from a business's point of view is they're going to have to be more and more engaged with social media and what I call carpet bombing, which is putting a lot of information, testimonials, things that aren't faked. Like, we're not AIs here doing this, Wayne. You and I, we're live human beings. And so we're going to be accredited for good or bad with the content we put forward. That's the sort of stuff you have to do to influence the answer engine.
And one of the things that struck me about this is, even though you're not trying to optimize traffic to your website like we used to, your website still needs to have lots of information published on it so that the answer engines, which are basically the AIs, can find this. So you're looking, when someone puts a question into an AI, you're looking to come up as being cited in that answer. Now, Google has done this with their Google search, but all of the other AIs are also answer engines and are also where you need to be found. And I've been doing a bit of research on this by asking the AIs, how do I get my business found? And it seems to me that the fancier and more technical your website is, the less likely that's to be of use to the AI. It doesn't dig multiple layers deep. It doesn't use carousels or things that look pretty, because it's not looking at your website. It's examining it as a bunch of code. And so getting some expertise around how you make sure that you're found in answer engines is going to be increasingly important. One of the things that I saw on that Google I/O that just blew my mind is they're also doing the same thing with people searching in YouTube, because YouTube is probably the second biggest search engine in the world.
Yes.
And now they're not just bringing up a whole video that's about that topic, they're bringing up a fragment of a video that specifically addresses what you're talking about. So their example was about teaching your kid to ride a bicycle, and they were just bringing up the fragments of videos that match that specific query. Now, it was a really well done and as you'd expect, a highly polished presentation. But still, that means our videos, which are like 40 minutes long, are probably going to get chopped up and put into answers by YouTube, over which we have no control.
Yep. And to that end, Wayne, for those SEO folks out there, and Wayne, you have websites of your own.
Yep.
We were always told you needed a sitemap.
Yes.
So sitemap.txt. And that was the file that listed all the pages that are in your website. There is now a new thing called an LMS.txt. Now, it hasn't bitten hard yet, but what it is a large language model sitemap, which is basically a series of questions and answers from your content so that you can put up in your root directory on your website a file called LMS.txt. And over time, if that becomes more of a standard, the different AIs will read that information.
And what I'm doing now, Monty, with my websites is I'm putting one file up that I call the fine print, that I basically put in the footer of my front page. It has a heading tag on it, and it has to be clicked on. So this is experimental, folks. But in there, I have like 5, 6, 10 pages of just plain text. It's not in Markdown, but it's certainly Markdown convertible. So no fancy tags, no clever things, no links, just answers to questions. A lot of multiple dot point answers, 5 or 6 dot points to answer a question.
Yep.
Because I'm advised by my AI that's what AI likes to find. And the important stuff is at the top of that file, because when the AI looks at your website or looks at anything, it tends to only take a snippet rather than taking the whole file.
Yes.
So I am like everyone else in this battle of how do we get stuff in AEO, answer engine optimization form, and this is a new discipline, and I don't think anyone's got great answers to it yet. But I do urge you to have a look at this and to be aware of it and to do your own research. Your web developers are probably not going to be the gurus in this.
No.
They're going to be very good at making magnificent looking websites for what is basically an audience of blind users. The way that AI looks at this is not to see the pictures. It can see pictures, but it has to actually deliberately choose to download the picture and then examine it. And generally, when it's just looking for an answer, it doesn't do that. Some of the other stuff that came out of that I/O conference that I think we should comment a bit on, I thought the announcement of their universal shopping cart was just mind-blowing. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, you probably have more information on it than I do. I got the snippets, and it was the ability of Google to, through watching your tags and watching your behavior and cookies, all those different things, it could see that if you went to Amazon, if you went to Shopify, if you went someplace else, if you went to all these places and you were putting things into a shopping cart, it could consolidate that shopping cart into a itemized one-click payment for all the items you bought, even if they came from different stores.
Yeah, and I took a little bit of a different takeaway from that. If you use their universal shopping cart, which I don't think has been launched yet, it will go out to all of the e-commerce shops that it knows about and look for that and bring you back those items ranked in price order.
Yes.
And then if you want to buy it, you pay Google, and Google will go and buy it for you from the outcome. So this has big implications. I don't think it's going to bother Amazon or these big outlets in Asia, Shopee, Lazada, and Alibaba, and so on and so forth. But
Temu,
for all the people who are kind of community makers of product who are selling a few things in their own e-commerce shop, I think Google just Googled it and did an Amazon. Amazon has a reputation, rightly or wrongly, that if you do really well on Amazon, they will replicate your product and compete against you. Now, I have no idea whether that's true or not, but I think now basically we've got a clash of the gods where Google and Amazon are going to be competing for your attention and for your dollars. And I thought that was pretty spectacular. I also think that those people who may be watching us who make a living with affiliate links, that is, their job is to drive traffic to the affiliate link on a website, and when someone clicks on that link, they goes off to buy something and they get a commission out of that. I think that whole industry is either dead or at least mortally wounded by this.
Yeah, I concur with that, Wayne. The affiliates of if they have, well, it's kind of like an influencer. If you're on YouTube and you've got 1 million followers and your videos are being watched, you have some power to influence people where to go and where to shop. But again, as you said, Google will then take your intention of what you wish to purchase, and it will shop it across multiple platforms to find you the best price and deliveries and everything else. And so the affiliate starts to lose out unless they're being paid by the brand to promote.
And even if you're an influencer, and I don't think we, with our 7.5 people watching, can claim to be influencers, Monty, but we just talked about a number of different segments, and I think YouTube will very soon, if it's not doing it already, cut us up and take snippets of that. So if the next thing we're going to say is, oh, and you should buy my handbags at this affiliate link, click here, and this is what I've been talking about, they're not going to see the rest of the video. They're only going to see that snippet.
Well, and an example I'll use, love him or hate him, Joe Rogan is probably the largest global person for long form content. And it goes often when he's interviewing people for 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
Now I don't have time for that. You did, in fact, watch 2 hours of the I/O conference, not live streaming, but the next day. I again got access to some of those snippets that I was interested in on AEO, and they do the same thing with Joe Rogan. He shows up in my YouTube feed, not under shorts, it's still under long because it's usually over 3 minutes, which is their cutoff. But I mean, I'm not going to sit there and watch a 2 to 3 hour Joe Rogan video.
Well, Google has heard you, and looks like they're going to do it for him automatically. Now, I don't know where those snippets that you're watching are coming from, whether they're from Joe Rogan's organization, or whether they're coming from other people who are just downloading his stuff and chopping it up. But in either case, I think Google's done an Amazon on us, and they're going to compete with the people who are doing that with using their AI in the background. The other stuff that they talked about was their AI platforms, and I had thought for a while that Google was falling behind with its AI platforms, but man, the stuff that they've got in their pipeline is just mind-blowing, with video creation, with what the AI can do, and it is stunning. as you know, and I guess people who watch us know, I'm into outsourcing, and I work as to help people get outsourcing here in the Philippines. I don't run a BPO. I liaise with other BPOs, and I help people who want to get involved in outsourcing. They talk to me, and I help them understand how it works, and I try and help them avoid making mistakes and be more successful at it. But some of the things that I think the AI is going to knock round a lot that came out of that same Google Developers Conference. For a long time, we've been saying, look, the bottom end of the outsourcing industry, you know, the people who are employed in the Philippines, whose job it is to answer the phone, listen to the query, précis that and type it into a database, get the answers back, pick the one they want, and then read that to the client. That's gone. That'll be done with AI this year.
Yep.
It's already happening in fairly big numbers. But I think the people who for a long time have thought, oh, it's a long time before this comes to get me to a professional, I think their time is more limited. If you're a video editor and you're not using AI to do that, I think you're seriously in trouble. If you're and the skill that editors have, and they should capitalize on this, not despair. The AI, I don't think, knows what looks good. I don't think they can make a video that will make people tear up and cry. So I don't think they can do videos that will engage people. All they're doing is copying other videos that do this. So I still think there is room for the people who are in the video industry, who are, you know, who can call the perfect camera shot, who can call the perfect action from an actor, who can write the perfect script, who can do that stuff. I don't think they're going to be wiped out anytime soon, but AI is getting better and better, and maybe one day we'll all be wiped out, Monty, and we'll just get our universal living income sent to us every month.
I want to segue from something that you said, because it twigged me when you talked about the improvement of Google's AI and what it's now doing. And I agree with you. But that indicates an underlying situation among AIs. So if you got things like Claude, and you got OpenAI, and you got Grok, and you got Gemini and Google and Perplexity, you got all these AIs, they do have costs, and you got to pay for them.
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing is, Google has, as does Facebook, Google and Facebook have platforms that generate them money. Yes. So they can add AI to their offering, and they don't depend on it to make money. In the case of OpenAI, they do have to make money because they don't have a secondary product. Their product is their AI tools and the services. So at some point, they got to pay for all these computers and processors and power plants and air conditioning that Google and Meta already have. And for that sake, even Amazon and Alibaba. So
well, OpenAI signed up with Microsoft, didn't they, for some squillions of dollars early on?
Yeah, so billions. Yeah.
I'd like to feel my heartstrings being tugged by the poor OpenAI, but no, I don't think they're poor.
No, and they're going to do an IPO theoretically in the next couple of months here.
So we are in the same point of a revolution, folks, that, you know, started with Gutenberg's printing press, which was the first information revolution, then went on to the steam engine and the first industrial revolution, then went on to, you know, the 1970s, you know, the first networking events and email, and then the advent of the internet, and then the World Wide Web, and then Google Cloud, not Google Cloud, sorry, the cloud, really. And this is another one of those technology waves. And the shape of them, to me, has always been the same. And I've been involved in most of them. I wasn't around for the printing press, and I wasn't around for steam engines. But interestingly, my grandmother was. She was born before steam engines and the Industrial Revolution. and died after people went to the moon. So, she had an amazing lifespan. She was nearly 100 when she died. But my life has been also this exciting period, and this AI revolution that we're in now has all of the features of those previous waves, and it's happening more quickly than those previous waves. And I think the implications are more significant than those previous waves.
I agree with you 100% on that. My concern in that space, and again, it's probably a very personal concern, is that with the advent of AI and the supporting and underneath infrastructure required, that it looks like there's going to be a concentration of abilities and powers in a few multinationals. We know about Google, we know about OpenAI, we know about Perplexity, we know about Facebook, we know about, or Meta, we know about Alibaba, and with Google's uniform shopping, and it's going to go and send agents out to find you the best prices and everything. Guess what? If you don't play in their ecosystem, you're not going to exist.
Well, that's not new. When the World Wide Web came along, I was, as you were, doing education pieces for various organizations around Australia. And we were saying to people, if you make whips in Winton, in Western Queensland, and you sell a few when someone comes to your door to buy one, you'll be able to be a global retailer of your product. You'll put up a web page and people from all over the world can buy your whips, which in theory was true and still is true. But in reality, what happened is other people like Amazon and Alibaba and these guys came along, and you had to be with them. We were saying to real estate agents, oh, you can put your listings on your website and you'll be able to get buyers coming to you from right across Australia looking to buy. Well, that's not true either, because one site became the preeminent site for real estate in Australia. One shopping site became the preeminent shopping site for the world, and so on and so forth. That, I think, is also going to happen with AI, but it's not new. And the trick is, the people who did well when that happened were the people who knew how e-commerce worked and could ride the wave.
Yeah.
I think AI will be much the same. For me, the concerns with AI that bother me, and there are lots of people who know a lot more about this than I do talking about it, is how will AI be used in warfare? How will AI be used to make enforcement decisions over people?
Yep.
And in fact, the European Union 12 months ago released a new piece of legislation, which is the AI regulations for the European Union. And they roll into full effect, I think, next month, but I'm not exactly sure about that. And it requires human oversight on any AI decision that is a significant decision that affects people. And whether that becomes a global thing like the European Union privacy stuff did, or what happens with it, I don't know. The problem with legislation, of course, is that it only applies nationally. That's the way the world is today, although we may be going through a very significant change in the world order right now with what we're seeing, with what America's doing and what's happening in other countries. Maybe we're going to see a change in the global economy, and maybe we'll see a change in global governance as well. But I don't want to go down that path because it's outside my area of expertise. I can't say much about it. But if you're unaware of the European Union legislation for outsourcing, not for outsourcing, sorry, wrong word, for AI, do look it up, and it's interesting to have a read about it. Now, Monty and I started all of this to really just share with you what we're doing in our respective businesses. Monty runs something called Preserver app, and I work as an outsourcing advisor or broker, whatever you want to call it. But we started this to automate our marketing for ourselves, and I did that with OpenClaw and with Hermes models. Monty came a bit after me, and based on some of my experience, chose to focus on Claude Cowork.
Yes, that's correct.
but Monty leads the way with video creation and publications and posting stuff on social media, because as the Google guru, he's much more skilled with this than I am. And Monty, you've recently had a bit of a discovery that you're happy about. Do you want to tell us about Opus Clip?
I will. I'll go backwards to go forwards just a bit, Wayne. I did use and still pay for and use a service called HeyGen. HeyGen.ai allows me to put scripts in. I've taken a picture of myself to create an avatar. I've recorded my voice originally with 11 Labs and now with HeyGen to create my voice. So I can create videos of me, and it's using my picture and my voice as an avatar. And it's pretty good, and it'll do movement, and I can change what color shirt I'm wearing and the background and all this sort of stuff. And that's great. HeyGen at the time, and I believe it's still true, didn't have a distribution channel. So I went and used a product called Post Everywhere. And Post Everywhere for again, a monthly subscription, as HeyGen has, allows me to take those avatar videos, be they short form or long form, and distribute it to my social media, which includes the usual culprits: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know who I missed there. And it does that. But we've been doing these long form videos, which I enjoy, and it allows us to go in depth in conversations. But I did come across a tool called Clip, and it allows you to take a long form video like this, load it into Clip, and it will add B-rolls. So it'll break up just pictures of Wayne or pictures of me throughout and put appropriate public domain, copyright, non-infringing images to break up the video. It can also take the video and shorten it down, and it will actually listen to what we're talking about and create 0 to 3 minute clips that are coming out of our 15 or 40-minute video that we do. And again, it then has a scheduling and publishing tool built in to its feed that allows you to distribute it to those channels that I said, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. So I've just started to experiment with it. The B-rolls look reasonable. The breaking up of the content so that, we're no longer talking about Google I/O. We're now talking about video creation and distribution. It'll segment those automatically so we don't have to do the work. And you and I are always interested in tools that save us time and energy.
And you put up your test one recently was one of our other previous interviews like this, and it made 19 shorts out of that, I think you told me.
Yep, it did. Some were overlapping because it's guessing, and you got to view them or listen to them or watch them. But then, then you can just go to publish and put in your credentials for your social media, and it'll publish on a schedule all around the world.
That's pretty good. I'm yet to try it, but I'm excited to give it a try because it sounds very useful. Looking at the time, we've getting to the point where we've said enough. I think Monty and I have these conversations between ourselves for a long time, and we thought we would put them on here and let you share with them. So if you are sharing them and you're educated or amused or merely just scoffing at two old men talking about wisdom, technology, and friendship, please click all the relevant buttons at the bottom of whatever media you're looking at it in. Like, share, subscribe, whatever platform you happen to be on. Please comment. We do read the comments. We don't always get to reply to all of them, but we do read them all, be they positive or not. And we appreciate the feedback, be it positive or not, because this tells us what we need to do better. And we're great believers that we don't have all the wisdom in the world, and the wisdom of the crowd is often better than our wisdom. However, I should say, and I haven't previously said any of these, and you might tell here that I've got a compliance background and my legal friends have been in touch with me. The opinions expressed in this video by both Monty and I are our own opinions, and we're responsible for them entirely. There is no sponsorship on this show. What we have to say about the products we use is our opinion. We're not ever slamming the door on sponsorship, but if we do one day find a kind soul who wants to sponsor us, we will declare that sponsorship so that you know it's sponsored, and so that you don't think it's a conflict of interest. And I think that's all I have to say. I was going to write a script for this, but I didn't.
I'm going to just pipe in. You've covered it. Yes, we need to be full disclosure. We're not endorsing any products. We're not also providing any financial information, telling you what stocks to pick or anything like that. But what we would like to hear as two grumpy old men is if there are, and since both of us run, we don't run enterprise companies. We run small, lean, mean organizations, limited number of staff. And we are always looking for tools and efficiencies and effectiveness to improve everything so we can have greater reach. So if you have something specific that you would like us to talk about, please leave us a comment, send us an email, whatever you like, because with my 70 plus years of knowledge in the technology space, and Wayne has a similar amount of time, if there's a topic that that you think we might have something of value, let us know, because we probably have run across it at some point in our life and might have something useful to share with you. So if you've got a topic that you want to know, whether it's like I know Wayne specifically has knowledge about workers and PCI compliance. You can explain what that is, Wayne, and how to deal with that, or anti-slavery or anti-money laundering. These are topics that not so much me, but Wayne can comment upon. So if you've got something, please put your hand up and say, hey, guys, you bunch of old men, give us some info.
And while we're doing commercials, I'm from outsourcingfit.com. And Monty is from?
I'm from Preserver app. It's in the Google App Store and the Apple Store. It's 100% free, no registration, no email. I'll never know whether you download it and use it because we collect no information. We've got no servers with your data on it.
And that's all we have, folks. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him.